So the title of the podcast kind of gives away what we're going to talk about, but I'll rattle off a little bit about Rickson before we get started. So, we just trained with Jack. Jack Toffer was just in. He was on the podcast. It was super awesome. Like 2 days before he came to do the podcast, he had lunch with Rickson. I can't remember if we talked about it on the podcast or not, but there was a lot of stuff that Jack and I talked about while he was here that just like I can't remember if we talked about it on the podcast or not. But really cool stories. Jack's always down to chat and always a great conversation. But I used to live in a time where there were no Rickson Gracie instructionals, videos, anything. Like I remember he came back and he put out this Budo videos bridge, like the actual way to do a bridge and roll escape, and it blew everybody's minds. So Budo Jake from Budo Videos, that's like the YouTube channel that Rolled Up comes on. I always refer new students to that because like there's a little documentary mini-series on Jiu-Jitsu, like Kurt Osiander, Andre Galvao, those are Alliance New York, Marcelo Garcia, those are some of my favorites. But they're this little like hour-long Jiu-Jitsu documentaries, super legit. So they did BJJ versus Cancer on Jack Toffer, and then they have like a little podcast type show called This Week in BJJ, similar to like what I'm doing. This will be my second Jiu-Jitsu Unraveled. So we're going to be reviewing a Rickson Gracie seminar that just happened yesterday, or well, it was just uploaded. Let's see what the actual date was. Yeah, it just happened yesterday in Tokyo, and I will read the formal description. Published on February 12th, 2018 at the Rickson Gracie Cup 2018 Komazawa Olympic Park Gymnasium, and this seminar happened February 11th, 2018. So there are two, and Jack mentioned these seminars, and you got to kind of almost be a Rickson nerd to know about them, but he did two seminars in '93 that made it on the internet and on YouTube, and one's from Chicago, one's from Hawaii, and they're both like 3 hours long. I've watched them both several times. And then, as you know, I just, so I'm audience-wise, I'm sitting here with Rob. Rob was on the podcast. He is our in-house massage therapist and all-around great friend of the gym. So he's here, and we're gonna watch his seminar and kind of review it, but so we went to the Rickson Gracie experience. Cora and I and Caleb and Jack were all there in this last July, and that's where Rickson got promoted to red belt, which I'll tell you an ironic story is he is not wearing his red belt right there on the TV. He is got his coral belt on, which is a red and black belt. So we get to Vegas, we go to the seminar for the first day. He gets promoted to red belt. Ironically, while I'm drilling with him, there's 200 people there. He picks me out of the crowd, probably just because Jack introduced me to him earlier. And Jack's done several privates with him. He's trained tons of hours with, I mean, not tons, but I mean a lot of hours with him ever since Rickson got back. So like Rickson's unfortunately had a son that passed away like over 10 years ago. I don't know the exact date, named Rickson Gracie. And then Rickson kind of went off the grid after that. Gave Crone his black belt, left the United States, went back to Brazil. He and his wife got a divorce, and he like just disappeared, and then comes back like way more Yoda than when he left. And it like reportedly didn't even train a whole lot during that time. His ruptured, his 8 ruptured disc in his back. I mean, I've heard stories that he has had like issues with like having to rely on opiates and stuff in the past, and I mean maybe he still does. I don't know, but his body is jacked up, and I mean, he was fighting. I tell this to everybody because I'm a real big Rickson and Henzo fan, but in terms of after that, I'm not big time into Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. I'm into those guys' Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, particularly Rickson's. So Rickson comes back, starts teaching at Crohn's. That's when Jack starts to train with him. And Jack, like I said, has been fortunate enough to be able to do some privates with him. And that seminar in July, where he got promoted to red belt, which he does not wear, is when I was fortunate enough to get to train with him for the first time. So the first day was 3 hours, and no video, no nothing, except for, boom, bam, comes walking in, Rickson Gracie, Hoyler, Fabio Santos, Pedro Sauer, Fabricio Verdum, and Cobrinha and the entourage. I mean, all these like, there's this one one red belt there that I don't even know who he was. He didn't speak any English. He apparently like came up under Elio and maybe taught in the original academy. But there was just the who's who of jiu-jitsu walks in. And then Rickson's like, oh, you know, I can't accept this belt. So, and like on the video, you see I'm in the navy blue gi. I'm drilling with him when he gets promoted. Like when they walk in and out. Like I was like, he's out there like using me to explain the move and having me do the move on him, and I feel stupid. And then I hear somebody be like, hey, Rickson, are you sure? And I'm just like, who would say that to Rickson Gracie right now, dude? Sure? Yeah, and like, are you sure about that technique? It's like, who the fuck is talking during the Rickson Gracie seminar? What was Rorion Gracie, the guy that started fucking UFC, the very first UFC? So like I tell people this about Rickson, it's like Rickson was fighting the documentary Choke is one of the top documentaries on YouTube 1 year. And it's like an hour and a half long. I turn all my new students onto it. But like at the time where Royce was fighting in the UFC, it's because like that was beneath Rickson. Rickson in their mind was doing way better shit. I've been bagging on the Bellator Grand Prix tournament because back in this 1995 fight that Rickson fights in Japan, it was a fucking 8-man heavyweight tournament in one night. Not 1 year, one night. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are getting hurt and still having to fight. Like, there's a guy named Yuki Nakai that fought in that organization and in that 8-man tournament, and Rickson ends up beating him in the finals. And I'll tell you a funny story, reportedly. But, like, that guy's blind today because he was fighting, I think, I can't remember the guy's name, but this guy fought I think he even fought Royce in the very first UFCs. He's a French kickboxer, and he was stomped. Like Yuki Nakai's like a leg locker in this, and like that's what he's going for. And what he finished, I believe he finished one of the fights with in these. It's kind of like Pride style fights. They're in a ring, and it's in Japan. But it's in '95, and this guy's blind today from getting stomped in the skull by this really tall, pasty white French dude. So Yuki Nagai, look into him. He's super legit. So like the funny story is like in the finals, Rickson is fighting him, and like that, like they told him, they're like, "Don't you disgrace the family by hitting this man," like type of a deal, because it was like so like the dude was so much smaller and he's so fucked up. His eye was like just not even there, just like a mass, like just like hematomaed out, like probably just broken orbital bone and who knows what else going on. So, and I had a friend that cracked his orbital bone, Mark Barber, and like it was a major issue. Like he would look up and it would like cause a migraine, you know, like it would hang in like a bone on nerve type issue, I think. Like, I don't know. But anyway, so they were just like, don't you hit him. And like, I want to say Rickson hit him a couple of times from out, and like they were just like, you know, this because it's like like trying to be honorable about it, I guess. I'm like, dude, we're in a fight. But the whole thing was, and like Rickson's, I've heard him say this on different seminars and things. It's like he doesn't really just hit the pads like we did in kickboxing tonight. You know, we did cross hook. We're setting up clinches and kicks, and he's a grappler. He's trying. I mean, Jack even mentioned that when I was joining with him at the seminar. Fortunately, got to get like 6 hours on the mat with him while he was here. And he mentioned that he's like, you know, like he's not trying to hit people going in. Like he's trying to clinch, counter, get him down, get in positions where he can hit and can't get hit. That's the coolest thing about all of Rickson's jiu-jitsu that I've learned, whether it was from that seminar or from Jack, because I've been fortunate enough to go to, Jack's been to my school 4 times. I trained with him a couple of times in Cali, twice in Memphis. He taught that seminar before my wedding. Did you get to come to that?
I did.
Oh, dude. What did you think?
I loved pretty much every seminar you've hosted. I've tried to get people to pick up on this, man. Very just enlightened, bro. It's easy to come in and be yourself. You see a lot of people that are honest about their fight experiences, like Eric's story about kicking Homeboy in the face, like one of the top kickboxers in the world.
Yeah.
And when the dude smiled at him, he was like, all right, that's not all right, you know? And from my perspective as a therapist, just little injuries that people have, you know, had, or things that like varicosing, I've definitely appreciated the experience, you know, with some of the top people in the world, bro. Like this table right here.
Yeah, you're sitting in the same spot that Jack just sat in.
Yeah. I've done a ton of massage next to this table.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, real talk. This used to be in the conference room.
Yeah.
Now it's a podcast table.
It's an honor,
Super
bro.
legit podcast table, might I add.
And your party was legit at your wedding? Is it down home?
It was, man.
fast
Jack,
and
for
far,
for those of you who don't know, Jack Toffer, again, I mentioned he's BJJ versus Cancer. He is a great friend of mine and taught a seminar and came in for my wedding. And in the seminar, all the money, we just took donations for it. Like we had like a minimum per head or whatever, but he just donated all of it to Cora and I, and then we used that to pay for like our entire honeymoon. So it was super, super kind of him to do that. So very thankful. I kind of mentioned it on the podcast the other day when we were talking, but I don't think the audience would have known what I was talking about. I think he knew what I was talking about. But that's another thing about we kind of got into drinking a little bit of Crown Royale on the podcast, and it's a great time though. It was, Jack's a great dude, and I've been fortunate. It's crazy. I've kind of told you all the crazy coincidences that led me to being in that room for the Rickson Gracie seminar. Because like when I got into Rickson Gracie when I was a white belt, and like making horrible life choices at the time, just didn't have real direction. And like Mike Page, one of my best buddies in the whole world, was in my wedding, turned me on to choke like on his couch one day. And I was just like, bam, dude, like I knew right then, I was like, I'm going to stick with jiu-jitsu. Like I'm going to do this. You know, it was like seeing that part of the culture and that level of how he displays in that documentary is why I kept pursuing jiu-jitsu. And I got my blue belt not too long after that, and it just was a super motivating. Like I tell everybody I can about choke because it was such a positive thing for my life. So, and it's crazy too. Like I tell people this about Jack. I just mentioned how much time I spent with him. We're only spending 4 hours at Rickson. So we did that one seminar. There's no video of it other than the promotion, which awkwardly Rickson would not accept. And that's why he's not like, and then he kind of finally accepts it and puts it on. There's a picture hanging. I got a picture in that closet right there. There's a picture hanging up in the gym with Cora and I, and he's wearing his red belt. And that's like the only day he's ever wore it. So he's like, I'm going to put this in the safe. And like, it got to the point where it was awkward. Like Hoyler and Horian were both, and then like that guy was speaking in Portuguese, and they're like translating it for him and be like, Dad would have wanted it this way. Like, is basically what they're saying. And it's like, you know, and in pretty much anybody's mind in the jiu-jitsu community, and like, you know, if you don't agree with this, then, you know, go fuck yourself or whatever. But never was anyone more deserving of a red belt than that guy. Mm-hmm. He is the epitome. It's like I don't even know anybody that, you know, really would disagree with the fact that Rickson is the greatest of all time. Like Jack told some stories on the podcast of him rolling with like high level black belts, and I've heard other stories that he didn't tell that he told me or from other people. It's like he's 58 with like 8 ruptured discs in his back. Like, I mean, he's out of his prime. He said this at the seminar I went to. He said, I'm a fraction of what I once was physically, but I'm more than I've ever been in jiu-jitsu, you know? So, dude is just enlightened on another level.
Is the concept of yin. It's the female passive earth creative energy. So jitsu is learning about pacificity, I guess.
Yeah, you know, some Japanese translations on that word would be like pliability, yielding, giving way,
accepting, flowing.
Which I'm gonna do. I just got some artwork done by Nick for a vlog for the gym, and I'm gonna be talking about training with Jack on the first vlog. And one thing that's fascinating, there's 3 or 4, I guess you could say, really big concepts that Jack has taught me that he kind of implemented from Rickson, and they all kind of interplay. But one is like connection, and from all positions, from standing, from on the ground, and all of these kind of are similar. Distribution of weight, the middle.
Torque generation, understanding where your connection is, where you generate torque, where your opponent is basing off of, like generating their own torque, and basically who just knows where the other person is going first. But Sharpie did something tonight that, Willie does, and Jeff Funicello back in Arizona did, and that's basically you get your base when someone's kind of on top of you, more a side mount. And instead of turning into them and fighting to get that knee under and removing your hands from, protecting yourself, you connect with your forearm, your bicep, your shoulder, get your hip in to where your core is strong and plant strong on your feet, and then you shoot that arm straight up. And you almost let yourself snaky move, but you generate off of your foot ultimately, but you're fully connected all the way through your arm, and you end up generating like Thomas Myers. If you ever look into anatomy trains, anyone out there, you create myokinetic lines of force, and you end up using what's called the lateral line, and kind of.
Jack was talking about that in the seminar, and I want to say that like Dring was like, "Oh, this is what this is called, or whatever, a kinetic chain."
Yes, kinetic chains. I've been and Derek Huddleston also, who you brag on.
Yeah, Derek. Derek was just texting me the other day from chiropractor school.
He's doing cool. So I've been very fortunate as nobody to only see this in my jiu-jitsu career.
Yeah, man. I only got trained at Hickson for 4 total hours, and those concepts I mentioned, connection, the middle, distribution of weight, which concepts that Jack taught me, are so evident in all of the stuff that he does. And I've heard, posture, like how his postural alignment is in all of his techniques and positions. That's kind of like the 4th concept, and it's like none of the concepts really exist without the other concepts.
Yeah, breathing, and that's why when we...
Breathing, too. His breathing is so inspiring. We'll have to throw up that video of him breathing on choke here in a minute if you hadn't seen it.
When I look at my jiu-jitsu friends who either excelled more at wrestling or football, soccer, some kind of, sport outside of jiu-jitsu when they were in teenage years, and then came into jiu-jitsu, or people who got into trouble and ended up coming up more into, finding what you were describing. And I have a home in jiu-jitsu. Like, I know the people around me. I trust the people around me.
It's a super unique community.
Yeah, it is. One of the boys on Dring's team called it a social litmus test, Master Danny Dring. He said it, clear as day. So his name is Nathan's, Derek's boy, actually, rugby team. It's all right.
Yeah, I think I met that guy. I think he came
Sure
for the came for the movement seminar. So okay, I'm actually gonna take notes while we watch this, dude. Man, so we're gonna hit play on the seminar now. This is 52 minutes 46 seconds. Again, Rickson Gracie Workshop in Tokyo 2018. If you haven't, check out those Hawaii and Chicago seminars. If you want to do some private lessons, particularly on Rickson techniques, all of the techniques that Jack teaches are Rickson techniques. So Rickson's kind of starting off with like some like a yoga type warm up.
Yeah, and on that,
scorpions.
The Gracies have given us great breathing videos online. Check out their breathing and understand what we talked about. Actually, Scientology and Mormons, a lot of ancient Easterns believe the same thing. And not only that, but when we look at somato-emotional connection in our body, there is a neurological loop. There's feedback back from our muscles and our body back to our mind also. So what we look at is pools of energy and different things, like, for instance, your right shoulder is a little bit of defense and control, freedom of expression. Maybe your left hip would be more like fertility. You're kind of in touch with the earth and genuine creativeness. Your ultimate deep creativeness, sense of self. So I understand where people are coming from, but when you look at, in fact, what we talked about with the scientific revolution and how it played off of the church, some things did actually be outlawed by the church, such as breathing, yoga. There were things defined clearly.
So Rickson has this microphone thing going. They had him do that. So he has a Japanese translator. I've heard that he speaks. So they're doing a bowing. I heard he speaks Japanese, Portuguese, and English, and his English is really good. Like he didn't really have any weird sentences or anything. I mean, he spoke English.
Californian, right?
Yeah, I mean, in a big way.
Yep. I sound like Eric Estrada. I'm most legitimately the legitest man in the world. For real.
He is, dude. He is. He's like, there's a lot of people that will talk shit about things Rickson has to say, but no one talks shit about
He said
Rickson's
sit,
ability.
and everyone says, man, watching Grandmaster Lee from ATA, who I've had the privilege of working on before he got promoted, watch an entire arena of people stand and cheer for him, the way it echoes and builds.
See, it's just a great time to be alive because, like I mentioned, like that bridge and roll video I think came out like maybe almost 3 years ago on Buddha Videos, where it was like a 4-part thing where he showed a little bit of connection, showed a few things, and I mean, like Rickson's jiu-jitsu is just unique. It is totally different than anyone else's. It implements the yoga, it implements the breathing, the principles I talked about earlier. And you see all of those techniques running, or all of those principles running through his techniques. You don't understand how special you are related to the rest of the world, is what he just said. See if we got a time so
Like
you
you
guys can
said.
sync up with us. Looking here. We are 3 minutes, 30 seconds into Rickson Gracie Workshop, Tokyo 2018. I actually just found out about this because Jack shared it on his Facebook page. Plus, today I got the War Tribe Rickson Gracie Self Defense Unit gi in. He's just come out with an instructional. Like, so now he's like never had any content, and like now there's like we're watching a seminar. Like, so the second seminar I went to in Vegas, they put up online. It's like 20 minutes. It's on YouTube. It's the Maya Super Show. And there's in the promotional video and in the video on that, you see Cora and I, like we Facebook Lived it in our Force of Life group. You can watch it there too. But so that seminar made it up. Then he did the Rickson Gracie Cup in Albany. And the Jiu-Jitsu Times put that video up. And then Pedro Sauer Facebook Lived it. So it's a great time to be alive if you're a Rickson Gracie fan, because like what we're watching right now, that's just another. And then he put out some clips of the self-defense unit. I don't think it came out yet. Like I'm on the like I've signed up to buy it whenever it comes out. I can't wait. I can't wait to see it. And that's one thing that Jack kind of starts his seminars off with, like self-defense. You could say self-defense techniques. It's like from like the old school Gracie self-defense katas. A lot of the moves are in the judo, but it's an obscure judo, and the details are so great. I mean, like some of the throws, some of the more obscure throws that went away in judo because they're illegal in IJF Olympic judo, like Sukanagi and Uranagi, Surigoshi. And that there was some throws that I did in my Shodan testing that I didn't even understand until I went and trained with Rickson and learned like hip connection from standing at the July seminar. And it just changed everything. And like I was able to pull off the two throws, Surigoshi and Surigoshi, these two hip throws when someone's like trying to hip throw you. And like it just made me like, I don't want to say unthrowable, but my base like doubled. Like Mr. Dean, who like I have a lot of respect for, is my original and is my judo instructor, original judo instructor, is former Green Beret, great dude. He and he's my instructor Caleb's dad.
Yep.
And
he's a natural healer too.
Yeah, he was like, you're enlightened now about this particular idea, the hip connection. Yeah, and I was like, I don't know why. Just this the way he taught it, and the stuff that I've learned from Rickson, the stuff that I've learned from Jack, is just it's on another level. Like, and
you
what
can
they
make yourself 300, 400 pounds. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean it recontextualized everything I'd ever learned. Like it's not like so like Jack taught me how to use posture and guard, for example, or how to break posture when you have guard. Like both of those concepts, but it's like those are concepts I've been dancing around and thought I knew and had been learning since I was a white belt. Two groups. Students and teachers.
That's something opposite of. He's probably going to say something else. But.
Yeah, we hadn't really been paying attention. Rickson's just kind of talking to the crowd right now, and he's got a Japanese translator. So everything's taking a little longer. That's probably about like the Martial Arts Super Show So we're 7 minutes in right now, 7:01 of a 52-minute, 46-second seminar.
Yeah, I'm surprised to hear him define the teacher and student, because that is something that every gym that I've been to has kind of taught the opposite, that every student is a teacher and every teacher is a student. So,
First concept they're talking about is base. And he's pulling a purple belt out. Like, he would pull all sorts of ranks out. And some of the people he pulled out the second day at the Maya seminar were, like, just traditional martial artists that were there for this martial arts super show, had never even done jiu-jitsu.
wild. That's amazing. Some Bruce Lee stuff. Could you imagine being in that moment, bro? It'd blow your mind. You're staring at Rickson Gracie.
I was in that moment, dude.
Yeah,
It's like, I mean, I try not to like talk about it too much, but it just, I mean, what were the odds? And then it changed my whole life. Like, I mean, I tell people that all the time too. It's like, spent like 4 hours with that guy in 2 days, and it changed everything for me. It like totally changed my trajectory and path and the way I thought about everything. It's just one of those, like, it's like the first, like, not even more so than this, but like the first time I went to Worlds, like, I just knew that was like going to be a profound impact on me, because I saw the height of sport jiu-jitsu, and you know, like,
I think anytime you witness greatness, it changes you.
It does. It does.
Interacting
I
with you on
totally
a
agree.
level like that, and it's a strange concept, dude. But putting you like in a position like that physically, just to be there, like on some level, is incredible, bro. Like, there's a friend that helped me establish my career out here, and he wanted to weigh 175, I think it was, and bench press 325 15 times. And
Damn.
yeah, when he achieved that, bro, blew my mind. But yeah, things like that.
People are capable of super great things. Like, I had one of my kids the other day, before we even worked out, I made him do 100 squats, 100 push-ups, and 100 sit-ups, and I was like, yeah, you never thought you could do that. And then we did a workout after that. So Rickson's talking about what to do with your hands from standing right now. Insert Ricky Bobby joke here. But he always kind of goes over that, and it's those old school Hawaii and Chicago seminars, he kind of goes over the same thing. Like, he has a really simple operating system and shows some cool counters to people grabbing you, people pushing you, people trying to pick you up. That's one thing, like how he does his base, like, and I saw him do this on the Albany. It's like he'll try and double you, he'll try and single you, he'll try and Osoto you, he'll try and do all of the Tsukanagi, pick you up from the back. And I even taught some of this stuff to the kids. I think it's jiu-jitsu for all people, is what I've been telling everyone.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu is the nature of pacificity. Am I saying that right? I am.
Passivicity,
Passivicity.
passivicity.
Yeah, I believe I am.
Yeah.
But man, he is.
He showed. I think he showed some of the same stuff in both the seminars. He showed a counter to Osoto Gori, just that outside leg throw, and like this. He said this purple belt has no idea what to do. And like, if he was doing this to me right now, and like he asked me like this, like a couple of things from Jack's seminar because I did a Jack seminar in Memphis 3 weeks before, and Jack had just done a private lesson with Rickson before that seminar, and a lot of the same things that Rickson showed at his seminars I'd done with Jack, and he showed a lot of the same things that,
you know, my girlfriend was there for that seminar. I believe she's been to a few of them. That, you know, it's just these amazing people, you know.
Yeah, I mean, what are the odds of Jack Toffer? I mean, it's just like coming to Arkansas. Like, he happened to come to Arkansas, go to Northwest Arkansas, and like go do a class or whatever at Inferno. And little does he know, like Mike is there, who showed me Choke and how big a Rickson fans we are, and we're just like, what? You've been on This Week in BJJ? We watch that show all the fucking time. I mean, it's just like, what are the odds, you know? I mean, for the whole connection, for the whole relationship, for as many seminars as he's done for me, and then by extension of me coming in contact with him through Caleb, and then Eric and him doing seminars with Eric. I mean, it's just a super cool full circle type of a deal. And then for us to all be together at the Rickson. So Rickson showing connection on the bicep. This counters someone grabbing you.
Yep. You keep your frame. He's teaching how to stay within himself instead of overextending and or letting the distance be closed.
A lot of people say that Rickson got the concept of connection from Aikido. For some reason. Okay, we're back. Audio feed kind of kicked off for a second. Okay, so Rickson's showing the base from the rear. So, like, he's grabbing around over both arms. They do under both arms, one arm in. Jack was showing me some crazy stuff that I'd never seen from, like, the grabs, too.
You were talking some crazy history. Would you go over that again for me?
Oh, so Kano was an internationalist, and he proliferated judo everywhere. And one of the guys that was at one of the very first judo demonstrations in the United States was named Maeda, and he ended up, because of the Gentleman's Agreement and Teddy Roosevelt basically being like, no more Japanese immigration in the United States. That guy's like anchoring his hips to him backwards. So like, this is a great way to say an agi someone.
Pelvis. So you get connection, and you make sure your feet are kind of open.
It's like you're sitting on them.
Yes, exactly. You sit. It's like you anchor.
Because there you're going down and back. For some reason, the audio keeps kicking off.
Dude, it's because electronics and the CIA hate us. No, I'm just playing. I'm not trying to be that dude, but
it could be because I have my phone, which I'm casting on right next to the computer. I don't know. Yeah, so what he does is like I've got this stuff down pretty good. Like Jack was complimenting on some of the stuff, but like Jack's got it on three or four times. Yeah, you can when I taught this at the seminar over the weekend. Like if somebody grabs you over the arms or around the body, you drop your hips and you can move your hips side to side. It's only while they're trying to pull you up. But if anyone lets you go or stops pushing you or stops pulling you, whether it's your lapels or pushing your chest or picking you up or pushing you sideways or grabbing you in a headlock, it's just like a complete system of base. And like I've got my judo black belt now, and have been doing judo for not quite a decade. Okay, trying this again. Audio shut off about half a dozen times on us in GarageBand. I'm actually getting a totally other setup for how I record my audio because like we're just doing audio only on this. I didn't do the camera because it's just double the work. But and I could take the audio. I just like having two feeds because like Jack's like the camera filled up on like the last 10. Anyway, I'm getting another digital recorder. So, because like one of the very first podcasts I did, get the Google Drive kicked on the computer. So like I had to just boot down for a second and turn off the Google Drive to stupid background task and stuff. Sometimes you throw it off. I don't know if it's trying to update the computer or what, but so this is Jack taught this. So if somebody's trying to pull back, like they're slacking the gi, right, in the gi collar. So if someone's trying to go back, like John has been throwing the shit out of people with these inside leg trips, like they're called ouchi and kouchi in judo. They're leg reaps. Kouchi is kind of like a foot sweep, but it's you're using your foot on the back of their leg, so they consider it a reap. Okay. But if you just back up really, you can draw their leg forward. We call it a draw step and take them down. But the way like Rickson pulls straight down. He pulls the gi down. And that takes the slack out of the gi. So, and when they come in, he pushes everything away. And when they try and pull back, he tucks his pelvis and does a pelvic tuck and goes backwards. So it doesn't matter if you're pushing, pulling. Like in judo, there's three kinds of stepping.
Now listen, people, this is not soft touch martial arts. Understand that even through rubber, this man is anchored to the earth simply by tucking his pelvis. The part of the story that we were cut off on, he was talking about how martial arts is empowering yourself. Like, what the concepts that Brian is discussing, that Rickson is discussing. Look at this, toes dancing like Fred Astaire. This is the goal.
And this purple belt had no concept of base until like he's learning how to base right here on the spot. Yeah. Let's see how far.
And this is true. You open your feet, you get good foot connection, and you just kind of tuck your pelvis and push forward. It makes you a line.
So, like, for anyone out there, if you get a chance to train with Jack Toffer or Henry Akins is another guy, and ironically, one of Henry's guys he went to high school with, like a friend from high school, he and his whole family train at the gym. So, like, what are the odds of that?
Wow.
Yeah, so Henry Akins is from, like, Edmond, Oklahoma, like someplace, like, super close to here. And he went to school with this guy whose 3 daughters go to our gym.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Dude, Hoist goes to Cabot like twice a year almost. He's been coming pretty frequently.
Dude, yeah, I don't give a fuck about Hoist Gracie.
Whoa. You know the family though that
I think the dude comes across, and I mean I don't know him, but he comes across as a freaking asshole.
Yeah, but I don't know. Just
it's like made a big scene after Eddie and Hoyler fought on Metamoris.
Dude, look at
Eddie has been super respectful to the Gracie family. That's a misconception, I think, a lot of people. But like, it's like just because you dominated your brother doesn't mean you go get in dude's face, you know.
Some of the first-hand stories that I've heard outside of competition about Hoist haven't been terrible. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know the guy, but I also don't want to see him fighting on Bellator against Ken Shamrock in his fucking 50s.
No.
I didn't want to see him fight Matt Hughes either. So he's got another purple belt up here.
What's cracking?
Yeah, this is something he showed at the first and second seminars in Vegas. So, like, dude, all the people I polled on this, like, the way Rickson body locks is completely different than anyone. Like, wrestlers, the way he sprawls, the way he body locks, his techniques that everyone knows and is always known, is known for all time or whatever. Like, the way he does it is just different. It's based on these concepts: connection in the middle, distribution of weight, posture. And so that's it. See what he's doing there? That's that Koichigari throw I mentioned earlier, how he's sweeping the inside foot. That guy's hips are not on, so he's got him. Like, see how far back the guy's hips were from Rickson's?
Yes, sir.
So he has to basically step up and connect his hips so they're like teed up like this. Like, so that's how, like, Rickson destroyed how I thought you were supposed to do a hip throw.
Yeah, as a thrower, I always want good connection. I wanted to hook that and kind of pinch the elbows and crank down to the earth and thrust your hips in. So someone who isn't afraid of getting hip connection and they just want to make contact. And, I mean, look at him. His arms are out, dude. In a real conventional fight, you can say what you want about jiu-jitsu. You know, it is
I do that all the time now. I did that tonight. Like three different takedowns right there. Like, anybody that questions the effectiveness of jiu-jitsu, like, they're an idiot. Like, you can't fucking talk to those people. Because, like, it's like I just tell people, like, every now and then one of my newer guys will be like, well, my friend said so-and-so. It's like, bring him in. Like, you know, and it's like, well, your friend will never fucking cross the threshold.
I don't think my orbital bone was broken, but I was definitely bleeding internally, quite a bit in my sinuses. And I had that kind of fisheye lens when I looked up over the next couple weeks after Solo. Chris Solo Hatley hit me. But you fight through it, you know, the blood, whatever, breathing. But you get choked or you get slammed, you know, you have a limb being lost. And, you know, but people, that's the side, when I say it, it sounds terrible. You know, understand as the general public, it's the most passive, cool, you know, easygoing group of people, laugh, all kinds of subjects. People are knowledgeable, very small ego. In a good gym, you can go to the wrong gym anywhere. And
and it's just like periodically, it doesn't matter. Like, you talk to any gym owner, Willie has some funny ass stories too, and I mean just people that come in or. It blows my mind how like I learned reverse jiu-jitsu in my uncle's tool shed or whatever it is, and it's just like I don't even put up with that shit anymore. I'm like, no, you didn't. Get the fuck out of here. Like, because jiu-jitsu. I love hearing stories of people's first time at jiu-jitsu that stuck with it. Because a lot of times, and I don't just turn people away or anything. I don't want that. I'm kind of exaggerating, but like the people that come in and they get humbled, because you will get humbled.
Hey, I was choked literally 5-7 times by a 15-year-old. He was a wrestler in Tempe, Arizona, or like Mesa, Arizona.
Dude, Bryce, when Bryce is like not even 18, so Bryce is a friend of ours that's on the Ultimate Fighter right now.
Bryce ran me out of my shoes when he was like 17.
Dude, I remember one time when Bryce was 17, we were sparring.
Ask about me.
And I was just like, God damn, like he just would not come off of me. And I was just like, okay, well, you're way more legit than last time we sparred. Like, what the hell happened? Same thing I said I could be said for, like back in the day, I sparred with Chauncey. See how Rickson has to bend up? He just bent back up, but he's bent over. He's hunched over.
He has most certainly taken some time off. Bro, I'd love to do some work with him, bro. Just fucking move some chi, bro. It's amazing what energy movement does for
he needs some serious he needs to get stem cell injections or something. His back is super degenerated.
That's the side of science that we should have, but I do feel also we should respect our ability to pass on to the next realm with respect. Just saying.
Well, we're still rolling on the podcast audio feed, so that's good. It stopped like 6 times, but we've been going back for like 6 or 7 minutes now. Yeah. So this is one thing that, like, I don't know. I wouldn't say I didn't like it at the seminar, but you see all the shit he just talked about base. He's like, so to him, it's like, hey, we're gonna drill base, and he shows all this stuff, and then he's like, all right, go work on that, and then he walks around. And he works with like every group one time if he can't. For the most part, I think he does work with every group one time. But he really puts a lot of info out, and then like these guys haven't even drilled yet. Huh. So it's honestly like almost like a lecture, like that you do some drilling at.
Seminar.
And I got so I got 4 total hours in 2 days, 3 hours in 1 hour, but. The 3-hour seminar, part of it was taken over by the promotional thing, but he still went on, man. We definitely got our fucking money's worth, It was $200 for me and then $200 for Cora, and I would have paid
you can't pay for that experience. It's like Bonamassa. You can't pay for that, bro.
Yeah, well, and like I told you, it's like I do get what the saying like money doesn't buy or create happiness means, but it's like in a lot of situations like. It cost a fair amount of money to be in that room, but it really changed things for me. Like I said, that experience.
Exactly, the enlightenment.
Now he's going into breathing.
Yeah, it's a concept that the majority of people throughout history have understood is that we share this connection. We go through things universally, and when you're in a room full of enlightened people and they share knowledge and, things that are old and traditional.
What's that saying? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Yeah. Imagine how Rickson feels all the time. So I don't know if he speaks 3 languages, but they say, imagine how high his IQ is. And they say for you to speak 3 different, because Portuguese, Japanese, and English are not all very similar in their structure.
Yeah.
But so if he does speak Japanese as well, and it may just be he may just be able to do some base level communication. But if he can speak 3 languages,
John Brashear was saying tonight, you just own that, and you own the corporate world, bro.
Yeah, being able to communicate, and that's I'm always impressed by certain European countries that are super close to other countries that have different dialects, and people be able to speak 3 languages. But I think that has more to do with, like I said, the structure of those languages, like Japanese and Portuguese is a lot different. A lot of your European dialects are very similar.
Mm-hmm. And he legitimately sounds American.
So, you know, some great sources for Rickson going into the breathing or that Rickson Gracie cup. He goes into it, this big excerpt on it, and I've watched it several times and referred a bunch of people to it. That's, I believe, on Jiu-Jitsu Times' channel. But a lot of these techniques, like the 3 in, 3 out, like that's and I don't know the technical names, but that's one from yoga. How he's doing the deep belly breathing, the one that he does in choke, where is like a Kundalini style. Just it's crazy how he like can compartmentalize. It's like almost like he compartmentalizes what lung he's breathing out of.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And like, so like, but Rickson Gracie on Joe Rogan too, he said, imagine massaging your diaphragm with no air in your lungs. So like he'll blow all the air out and get that deep belly exhale and then move his diaphragm up and down. And then he'll do side to side and then he can like roll it. It's wild, dude. Have you seen that video of him doing that in choke? Where he's doing the Kundalini and he's just like sucking his belly in.
I don't think
we'll watch it after the seminar is over.
Cool.
I don't know. It's probably, we've been podcasting for like 45 minutes, but like it stopped a couple of times. The video kept going and it got off sync with my phone, so I don't know. So this is just a clip or an excerpt. I wonder when they're going to drill.
More knowledge than I've seen, you know, in one block in a seminar. But truth be told, man, Rickson at this point probably feels like, man, I can only speak to the Japanese people, you know, 2 or 3 more times.
Well, and it may be because he knows that they're gonna they don't put this out on video without his permission.
Yeah, exactly.
So I bet
And
and that's where he's been like super strategic about what video goes out. Like I said, he's doing an instructional. I don't know what his net worth is. I mean, he's got to be well off. But Jack told me that he just like leases his car and rents his house. That way he can he's not tied down. You know, he can go do whatever. He can go be an acai stand owner in Brazil if he wants. Like he can do anything at all times. So, like, that's another thing, like, the way that Rickson plays his weight and things, like when people are trying to pick him up or knock him off balance, it makes the opponent strain, makes you get tired. Yeah. And you're doing the minimal, like, and that's a principle that came over from judo. It's called, and I forget the Japanese words for it, but it's maximum efficiency, minimal effort.
Yep. You fill up your lungs and we literally have, it's called air ki. There's 3 different types of ki. It's air ki, the universal ki, the food ki, and then your prenatal ki. That's called jing. That's what we learned it as. And, you know, what we're doing is using the potential of ourselves, and we just have this natural ability to generate heat, and, you know, people can purify water, I believe. Yeah. Life in general. Posture.
Breathing can help you for not only for fighting, but life in general. So audience, we're the only ones that can hear the seminar.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. So that's why I'm kind of narrating some of it.
Well, I apologize for sounding like an arsehole.
No.
Nah.
Well, now that's one thing. It took me a while to figure it out, so I had to go straight from the TV into the headphone amp and bypass the mixer to get. He's got a blue belt out now. So like, and I could sometimes I'll put like a video a picture in the bottom corner of the podcast, but it's easy to not do edits. That's why I said like, oh, we're 7 minutes in or something. People can watch if they want. I may see if I can sync up the seminar, but I have to download the 52-minute seminar or whatever if I want to pull it into the video, and it's just twice the video. Because the videos take a while to upload. Like we're doing audio only. Audio is not. I mean, I'll have this on and it'll share from Podbean to YouTube by the end of the night, and it'll go on super fast.
That's awesome.
So this is another good one. Guy's leaning back too much. I mean, this changed the way I wrestle. It changed the way I stand up in judo, like all the stuff that you're seeing him show. So this is a great, great, great. That's Tsukanagi. This is a great overview of some of the stand up principles that he shows. And Jack showed me a couple, like the standing Americana or Udigarami in judo, and counters to standing front choke, and some of the more self-defense and stuff that's supposedly going to be on the self-defense unit. And we worked on a lot of stand-up after he did a couple privates. I did a private with him with Michael and then Bob, and then then he and I worked for about another hour after that. Like, so like that's one thing that Jack showed me, kind of getting out of a headlock into a cuffing position.
So what he's showing is that if an opponent comes up and kind of stands beside you, like he's your buddy,
bully headlock.
Yeah, bully headlock.
Side headlock.
You know, like he's your buddy and just kind of
man, like Jack showed me one of those like on the ground, kind of like Kesa Gatami, you know, or Kesa or scarf hold, head arm wrestlers call it, but just like around your head from side control.
Yeah. So instead of pulling away or, you know, trying to punch your opponent from a
dude, and
position,
it sucks. Like being in that headlock
and thinking that you're just going to pop your head out and, you know, grab it with two hands and fight out. And he was showing punches.
You can't. Like when people really put the pressure on.
Yeah, like put their hips into you. Instead of pulling away and panicking, breathe, get heavy, get your hips into him, get your chest into him. And
well, it's like, dude, you can like. I like today, for example, it's like when you have a 300-pound white belt on top of you, none of that shit works. It's like you got to stay calm, and like it's crazy how you can take a new student that weighs substantially more and or Rickson, for example. It's like Jack was saying, like, dude, he grabbed me up in this position, and there's no dealing with it. Like, one of Caleb's guys shared this, and I hope he's listening, shared this thing that was like a guy, like, and Jack just showed me this stuff about someone choking you like this. And it's like, I will tap somebody with that right now, but he's like, the choke you thought existed before you trained BJJ. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, like, no one's doing these moves I'm talking to you about.
Okay, I'm telling you right now, the people that Americans are paying to learn self-defense from, go on Facebook and look up dumbass martial arts.
Oh,
and
you were just talking about that
yes,
page.
Man, because it's been a beautiful week. People have been sharing like
I
seriously 5 different videos. Yeah, and so I do not want to totally discredit light touch martial arts, okay, or light force martial arts, force touch stuff, because there are people who understand energy.
It's just it's for a different.
Like
it's not a combat martial art.
Yeah, exactly. It's not something that I would try to. If there's an enraged bull, I'm going to sleep touch the bull, and you know. Okay, so anyways, let's move on from that, and like when you look at, dang it, where were we, bro?
Well, we were talking about headlock, like bully headlock. So, like, somebody got submitted in the UFC. It's like nobody really knows how to deal with the bully headlock because no one really usually has an untrained person hop on that head like I'm saying right now. Like, when Jack put me in it, I was like, holy shit. Like, it's like almost like getting grabbed in a tie clinch. So some dude... big old yoked guy submitted a dude, which is a side headlock. I mean, it's just like, it's kind of a neck crank, I guess you could say. But you can do it from standing like they were just doing. You can do it on the ground. And that's what we're talking about. But, and like, so like, I know like some NFL teams have like employed Aikido on their line. I mean, it's like our judo sensei at the gym right now, McMillan, he's got a 6th degree in Aikido, and it definitely helps and broadens his understanding. Like I said,
for the lineman.
Yeah.
Any NFL fan knows that line play makes the team.
Well, all martial arts have great principles. Like some of the low kicks that John Jones throws in his game are from
patterns.
Well, they're from a Filipino martial art called Panabjokman, which came from the JKD circles, and it's like those principles of that oblique kick, and I mean they might exist in other martial arts, and they do, but it's like they were if you know the martial arts history side of it, you know that they and this is the source in which I'm citing, which says that they came from Panabjokman, who he went there and blah, blah, blah. This is a guy named Paul Vunak, is an old school JKD guy, and he had some instructionals out, and he has one on it's like the art of low line kicking. It's like a lot of the art is based on like trapping and leg kicking. But like, so that's like I said, Rickson's got a judo black belt and an aikido black belt, and his dad was Elio Gracie. So like he runs some unique lenses over the top of his, and like Jack just said when he showed back up from being
He got connected, bro.
being gone, he was just like, hey, yeah, we do it this way now.
Yeah.
And some of his stuff you'll see from the 93 seminar is the same, some of it's different. And like Jack said, like all their self-defense stuff, like, so he's working in the guard now, but he said all their self-defense stuff, they start off like, hey, yeah, I grabbed my neck. Okay, now I'm getting out. But like when Jack like turned it up, like to, let's say they do 3 levels, when he turned it up to level 3, like it was like it'd freak you out, like because it's like it's really someone like full on grabbing your neck and making you tap with both hands, like, and no one's training that way. Whether it's from mount, whether it's from standing, it's like
I got to be Master Dring's test dummy for like 20 seconds.
That dude is definitely training that way, bro.
It was amazing. He was training some local police.
Yeah, at our gym, right?
Yeah,
and Blake was out there.
It was incredible just to be snapped to the ground a couple times.
Dude, he has the sickest. Like, somebody was talking shit the other day on some Facebook page about doing standing wrist locks, and I was just like, no. I
still remember as simple as someone throws a ball in right hand, you know, the big
why would you not
right, and
why
you
would you not do
down,
everything?
You anchor 2 hands, let that punch hit you and let it shrug, connect with the shoulder, forearm to their chest, and kind of side of their neck, and then back of your forearm to the back of their neck and jawline. Grasp the other hand with an S grip and crank downward. And what you do is you connect on the opposite side of the head. You step behind them with your front lead leg, and you like basically just fall to the ground. You go straight down, and they naturally will fall around your back leg and go to the ground. And Master Dring showed a few derivatives from there. You can arm lock. You can set up punches to the face and quarter guard with your knee over them.
Dring has such sick, like, close quarter striking from those, like, holding positions, too. So, like, that's just, like the style of the jiu-jitsu that he, like, so he does an old school family Japanese jiu-jitsu style that he learned from a guy that, crazy story. I want to have Dring come on and just do, like, a whole series of, like Danny Dring Unraveled or whatever, and like do like Weeping Style Unraveled, Kickboxing Unraveled.
That man has lived, yeah.
Oh yeah, and too the guy here in Arkansas for boxing.
Over the last 30 years, like you said, it's a great time to be alive as a martial arts.
It is, and that's why I want to record. I want to record some of that, and I wish I could record more of like. There's a guy that was like he's president of Golden Gloves and Silver Gloves, and has been boxing for 70 years. He's like 88 years old or something. His name's Ray Rogers.
Dude kicking the out of the 23-year-old.
Yeah, basically
He's like
that
20
guy.
feet long when he punches. Yeah, but right now what Rickson is doing is calling out another blue belt, and like he's bowing in. He's probably going to shake his hand.
He's probably shitting his pants right now. I know I was.
Kid is a little awkward, and he's like,
I couldn't believe it when he called me out there. I was so nervous, man. I mean, in a good way. I was just like, because he like puts you on the spot. He's like, hey, I know you've never seen this stuff, and you might think you know it, but you don't. No. And we're going to learn it in front of the whole class of 199 other people, and all these, other people watching that are not, doing the seminar. Oh yeah. So this is a good. He does this as a counter to the. So like we did this, and we did the same. We did getting a double under body lock in kickboxing tonight. So
in kickboxing, you did it.
Yeah, we did like a cross stepping hook cross, and then like slide out. So got the double under body. So like we used the same combo, set up either a leg kick, a body lock, a double leg, or a tack clinch. But yeah, Rickson shows a really good way to kind of like do like a turtle back and double over hooks to get to counter a body lock from the front, a double underhook body lock from the front. Super effective, and most effective way I've ever seen to do it, and actually really similar to a way that Willie shows to open the Willie McLaughlin brought MMA, the coach of Bryce Mitchell, who we just mentioned on the Ultimate Fighter. How he shows to open the closed guard. He calls it, I think he might call it cat back.
Yeah, exactly. You do a cat cow, And you basically, a cat cow, I'm sorry, is hip ups. Like when you think of a cat arching its back, and then a cow has a sway back. And so by tilting the pelvis and changing the shape of your spine, using your chin as an anchor, back of your head as an anchor, your ear as an anchor, you make connection. And basically, he's owning this cat.
Yeah, see, that's another thing. Is like nobody can stay on balance. Now he's back with the blue belt. Yep. See
that
stepping back, it connects the shoulder on the shoulder.
Yeah, exactly. Not
and then
your chest.
Then you arch that back, and you pinch your arms. It's a super good counter to a body lock. Probably the most effective counter I've ever seen.
Look at that kid.
Yeah. I like how he always he'll any forward, backward, side pushing, he'll mountain climb into you just to test and see if you're off balance. And
he said he'll mountain climb.
So I think I mentioned this earlier. We might have got cut off, but a lot of judo is getting someone to take like a falling step, like a step where they put weight on it and they bring forward and put too much weight on the leg they stepped with, forward or backward, side to side, it doesn't matter, to the corners. Yep. And getting them to basically if he pulled the guy in the blue belt forward and he took a big step with that right leg.
Yes, sir.
That would be Rickson's whole system seems to be about preventing that from ever happening. He does a lot of little baby stepping, and Jack was saying, that's how they do the warm up a lot of times, is they'll get in just the defensive posture. That's called jigatai in judo. So that's one thing that Jack and jigatai means defensive posture. So there's shizentai. Maybe I'm saying that incorrectly. I can't. But there's natural posture, defensive posture, and I learned that from these guys. I didn't I just feel a lot of people talk about martial arts getting watered down and stuff. It's there ain't nothing watered down about Rickson's stuff, but a lot of other stuff I've seen, and just there's nothing watered down about drink stuff. But a lot of stuff I've seen, and you get on the internet, and you don't know what you're looking for, and even if you do, you can get watered down stuff. I was just kind of came to the synopsis recently that doing a knee bar, and when you don't have that other leg knotted up, and they have one leg free, that putting them in a toe hold turns them out of the knee bar, and it's a fake thing. And it's there'll be, I was going to show you tons of videos of world champions showing that same concept, and I'll show you videos where no one's getting taps doing it in jiu-jitsu tournaments. So it's and that's one thing. It's they Jack said this, and I will say this too, so they're finally drilling now, is that Rickson stuff exposes all the weaknesses. It works from the point of oh, here's all the ways you can defend it, so that's the way I do it this way, where all those ways don't work. Yeah. On the Americana, there's so many things I've learned from that. Their circle of style is it's just taught me that to work from the point of well, I don't want to do it in a way where they can do these three escapes. Here's the three main escapes. Everyone knows the armbar. Well, what if you could do the armbar in a way where all three of those escapes wouldn't work? So it's almost they frame a little argument beforehand, so you know.
Man, Jeff Funicello has this picture of two Spartans fighting, and basically, one man is so anchored down and pinned to the ground that his arm is fully extended behind him up in the air, and the man on top of him has nothing but a knee on his calf and one hand on his wrist. And that's the ultimate goal, is you are totally chilling, dude is on the ground, completely neutralized, and you have your knee doing a little calf cutter pain and a wrist lock that, if you chose to, you could probably hurt someone, seriously. And it's passive to get there. As little effort, like you said, you want to breathe easy, self-defense.
JJGF is a Jiu-Jitsu Global Federation. It's Rickson's, association or federation that he started. They have the Rickson Gracie Cup. Like, this is what he's promoting. You can see the banners in the background. Like, the self-defense unit's all about promoting that. And so, and then 2 years ago when I was in Vegas, first time I'd ever saw Rickson, he just, like, came walking past me in the lobby. And he was there, like, accepting the Lifetime Achievement Award for the Gracie family. And I was just like, I was on the phone with Jack, or I might have called Jack, and I'm like, dude, Rickson's right in front of me in the lobby. He's got, like, handlers and shit, man. Call him and tell him to come talk to me or something. And I don't know. And he's like, dude, just go talk to him and tell him you're on the phone with me. And I'm like, no, dude, I can't do it. And I was like, he's going in the other room. And he's like, you're going to lose it. Don't. And then he, like, goes in the other room, and he's like, dude,
and you were
blew
cool
it.
enough to chill, and nature took over.
I know. Then the very next year, that's what happened. So I think they're winding it down on the seminar. But, yeah, you guys definitely check this out. So just a quick review. The Rickson Gracie Workshop, Tokyo 2018. February 11th was the date.
I feel like this was an extraordinarily valuable piece of information.
Well, if you take this into context with anything he shows from those 93s
and apply
from
it to any
stand-up.
facet of your life, things just fall into place. You put this into your household, into your business, and you let people be free. And any person who's tall, person who's short, person who's this, person who's that, they're gonna, as long as they are strong enough to do what they're doing, what they are here to do, they're just going to succeed. It's crazy how things flow, bro. It's easy.
But this is all stand-up for the most part. But if you look at some of those other resources, and he's got enough out right now, and I suggest to everybody to buy that self-defense unit series. He put a promotional video out on it the other day. But if you watch, because it's like we're still in a time where there's not a ton of Rickson information out there. There's a lot of little bitty documentaries and stuff. Dude, less than 5 years ago, I was like watching Rickson documentaries in Japanese because he would speak English in them, but it would be like all narrated in Japanese and Japanese subtitles and stuff. And when it would be him talking in English or sometimes Portuguese. And I would watch it just because that's all there was other than choke, and there were no instructionals, there were no him showing techniques. There's nothing like what we're watching right now, which is now over.
Gotcha.
But yeah, they only drilled for 2 minutes of that entire thing. But like I said, this video will be up forever. So, but if anybody wanted to, here, this is just coming up next. Ironically, the Rickson Gracie MAIA Maya Martial Arts International what does the I stand for? Martial Arts Industry Association Super Show 2017. That was the one I told you I Facebook Live in the group. It's only 20 minutes. He shows a ton of stand-up in this, and mostly stand-up from that day. Starts off pretty much everything, and I feel like that's a chronic illness of a lot of jiu-jitsu academies, is they don't start from standing at the beginning of every class. If I don't start from standing in the class, I pre-frame in context why we're not going to be doing that.
Standing as your hardcoreness. If you are a hardcore at school, you start standing.
Yeah, we kind of get a rep for that, and then we do a ton of leg locks too. So and we tonight we warmed up with standing. We're setting up singles, doubles, and front headlocks all off of a collar and bicep tie.
Dude, I saved my life a few times with line scrambles from your boys.
Rickson's bending over in this one.
But
okay, I'm gonna go ahead and
calf cutter.
I'm gonna go ahead and sign this off real quick, and we can continue watching this. But this on now is Martial Arts Industry Association Super Show 2017. There's Caleb sitting right there. You see him?
It's crazy, bro.
Right there over, dude.
Yeah, right
I don't know if we've not walked in yet or if we're sitting somewhere else, but we're right in there, and they're just giving Rickson's introduction. He's wearing his red belt, so he's just been promoted the day before at that seminar I told you at.
Yes, sir.
So he's giving a little talk.
Most easygoing dude, you know what I mean?
He is, man. He's a funny guy, too.
Yeah, I can say that about William McLaughlin also. Coach Willie, you go into his gym, it's the most pleasant atmosphere.
It is, man. Willie's such a welcoming guy. And, two, will get right up in that ass if he needs to in, a super positive way. I was just thinking about him yesterday. We'll just keep watching this for a minute before I wrap it up.
So something that we got off on and we never got on our last podcast was the concept of space-time. And something that when we get connected, people that, I think the normal person would consider connected or enlightened, understands is that the universe, time is relative, and that early in the universe's expansion, there was no concept of time. Time that we understand on Earth never quite understood because our gravity never existed. So there's this highlight in Intelligence Squared where it has science disproven God's existence, and one of the dudes from the Four movement makes a joke about how can there be light in the universe, let there be light before there was a sun. And Dinesh D'Souza, of all people, makes this joke about, well, that's the view taken by every atheist, and 3% of, people who believe in God, whatever, 3% of Christians, So it's funny to me because there's this free, it is MIT. There's this MIT professor who has a free entire course lecture on the expansion of the universe. And the early universe was pure plasma energy. It was pure light, man. When light hit water, what happened was just the expansion and the Fibonacci sequence. Anyone out there listening, the basis of a lot of mathematics and the shell, the conch that we see all throughout nature, it's all based on 0 and 1, light on water. And the 0, earth, yin, is what Jiu-Jitsu is, Jiu-Jitsu. So what we're learning from Rickson is how literally, like every person, we have chi or a magnetic field. We all have our magnetic field. And regardless of what we are physically or, mentally, what our capabilities are, we have the ability to be the best of what we are. And mentality, that's why we hear about mentality, bro. People who love us are going to be a little tough on us, and I think that some people don't hear it, and some people do, bro. And
oh, yeah. I give people advice all the time that ask for it, and they don't listen all the time, too. And I don't even care, honestly, because it's just like, hey, that's just like, it's just part of the role. Like, is owning school, you have to deal with it, like one of my mentors all the time is like, if you own a martial arts school, you're in the people business, and not like in a monetary sense, a sense that like you have to manage all these personalities and expectations and neediness and things of that nature. Like just periodically we get like super needy members where it's like, whereas like Noah, like just like in terms of, we interact with all our members, but like it would take, we would have to interact with this member like 6 times as much. So, and then they would, it's just like always something. Hey, can you do this? Will you do that? Like, oh, I need to talk to you about this. And it's, which I never, we don't really mind, but it's at the point that it starts taking away from time that we have to give to other people, and it's like you have to balance all that out,
Students sitting in class call the arm up with the upper arm bent being on deck, like you're just on deck with your question. Your hand is loaded all the time, and there's ego involved with being that person. You can't possibly have that many questions that you expect to learn before you actually start applying yourself in your trade, whatever it is, much less something like martial arts or massage.
Oh, I know, man.
They're broad.
All of this I'm saying, about like what it's like been like training with this circle of in School of Thought on Rickson's Jiu-Jitsu. It's I'm almost 11 and a half years into training super regularly. I mean, I opened my own school in 2012 and started coaching a couple years before that because Caleb and them had moved to Northwest Arkansas. So it's you know, it's super humbling to still be getting exponentially, what I would say in my mind, exponentially better, having been as engaged as I have in doing private lessons and seminars and burning up the roads and bringing people in and cross training and studying and, you know, like really doing everything I could do, competing. I've competed a ton in jiu-jitsu.
He's having fun. That's all he just
Hey,
said.
that's me right there in the red gi.
Ah, there goes Brian.
Yeah, I wore red gi to the Rickson seminar. Suck it.
Dog. It's hilarious, bro.
There's Cora, my lovely wife.
Yep.
She's so pretty.
Dude, she is the bomb diggy human
She's
being.
the best. I just like her. I know that she's the best, and I've always known she's the best.
Yep.
But I just like, it's like I just realized it recently, like more than ever. Like
I
just
think
how
that's
good,
how
how good.
relationships work, though, because we don't change that much from when we're kids, bro. And what I am saying is that you can extrapolate that out. You know people as soon as you know people, for the most part. If you're in touch with yourself and you're seeking the truth and light, And Cora, for anyone who knows, I know y'all are doing your podcast, but Cora knows, dude.
I mean, and too, she's, I will say this, like, until you're like 23 to 25, you can, she's about to turn 26, her next birthday, but you can, it's just, those are, everything preceding that time, and they say it's like 23 for women, it's just such a time of growing, like while you're forming your prefrontal cortex, or, I mean, I tell people this all the time, like I'm actually kind of against the idea of doing like hardcore drugs before that age, just simply because it can impact, Nate and I kind of talked about this on the podcast the other night, it could impact your, basically the formation of your identity, of yourself. Before it's time, it could send you off mentally and or physically in another direction. You never get to fully develop. And like we were just talking about it briefly, and like after the podcast, we were both like, I almost said this, and I was like, bro, I almost said that too.
There is a difference between having an experience and learning something, and completely blowing your mind every day, because our mind is something that we.
Cora's Facebook Live and right there. I don't know if you can see.
Haha. Yep, I was probably rolling around with my girly-o, chilling, dog. It's funny, we just, got to follow on Force of Life, man.
I think that's Dave Kovar that he's showing with.
Hey, man, have you talked about Jiu-Jitsu logic yet, dude?
No, not yet. Which I got to talk to my web guy some more, but like I've been trying for like a pretty good while, and about $1,500 and countless hours of my time, which I have the videos no matter what, but like it's just such a pain having to rely on a person to upload your content. Like I was saying earlier, like I'm going to have this podcast, which would go on an hour and 17 minutes. I'll have it on like iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, and YouTube before like 10 minutes after we're done. You know what I'm saying?
Everyone has their politics, but all of these things that you could easily copyright and make a lot of money off of, through your own channels and only your own crowd.
Well, yeah, and I'm gonna
only your own network.
I'm gonna probably like end up like I just I mean it's just it can be expensive having websites, and like I don't build websites myself. But I'm making some changes to our websites for the gym and whatnot, and we've been building a member website. But, it's something I think about every day, and we're gonna roll out more with it as time goes on. But I'm making some changes right now.
People's experiences, man.
Yeah, because I mean, it's just like it. Right now I'm really focused on just like my audience at the gym for martial arts techniques, I guess you could say. And then, I'm going to go broader with that at some point, like what I'm doing with this podcast. And like what, and like I'm on the fence on whether or not I'm going to keep blogging, but I may start a blog and host it as itself, but I'm just trying to get where I'm the master of uploading my own content. Yeah. So, but I'm going to go, he's showing the Soto counter I mentioned earlier. I'm going to go ahead and sign this off because kind of got to go take a piss. So But appreciate you coming over and podcasting it up. I'm working on old Brent earlier. He's actually been teaching some classes for me. He's training at Eddie Bravo. Great
Yeah, I was
dude.
going to say today, that dude's background real quick. He is still he has been military a long time. He's still a contractor, occasionally working with our special forces. I walk into this gym today, and I get the opportunity. You know, we cover medical real quick, do our background. He's seen a chiropractor. He's done different things.
Yeah, he's been seeing my guy.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I got to put hands on him for maybe half an hour. Kickboxing going on in the next room, and we're just chilling, working. He comes out feeling, 10 years younger or whatever it is.
Yeah, he was super happy about that.
It's on the level, man. It's 100% on the level. It's an honor.
Yeah, because he just messaged me earlier and was like, before you even messaged me, and was like, "Oh, my back is jacked up." Because he's been teaching like about half the no-gi classes. Cause I've just been having to cover in some real specific stuff that he knows and really enjoys doing, like 10th Planet stuff, like rubber guard and lockdown. But anyway, we'll sign off here. Jiu-Jitsu Unraveled number 2, Rickson Gracie Workshop Tokyo 2018, February 11th was the date of that event. So check out that and check out the other resource we talked about. Signing off.